Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. It's me, your host, Tristan. Hey everybody. I was late because I needed to make that really stupid picture. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stop thinking about making it until I made it, so I just did it really fast. So, hello, I'm Tristan. I host Step Back History. You guys know me. At least 100,000 of you do. Booyah! Still excited about it. I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Mondays from 12 till 2 Eastern Time, I do the Monday Discourse with Mia Mulder. And on Tuesday nights, I do Step Back Tonight, which is the show you're watching right now, where we go over the news, answer some questions, and just generally hang out. And it goes from 7 until 9. And yeah, I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com. If you want to support my work, I've got a Patreon, patreon.com/stepbackhistory. Or if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can, for free, once per month, support Step Back with a Amazon or a Twitch Prime subscription. So, yeah. Do that, please. Yeah, or anybody else. And of course, if you want to spend some real dosh, like I said, Patreon lets you see videos early, without any ads or sponsorship breaks. Noted. And yeah, I also appreciate things like super chats, bits, Twitch subscriptions. Really, don't go broke, but I appreciate anything. It all helps. Yeah, my latest video is called The End of the 9/11 Era. It's getting a little old now, but I'm sure if there's a few of you who haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you probably should see it. And then I've got my next video, which is a sequel to it's sort of me revisiting my first Step Back video that I made back in 2015. And it's coming out on Friday to celebrate Step Back's 6th anniversary. So, cheers to that. Yeah. Yeah, and also I mentioned, on the money front, it's currently September, which means that while I get the same amount of money, Twitch subscriptions are discounted. So you can get them for cheaper. And yeah, if you want to submit questions for future streams, we might get some of them tonight. I don't know. We'll depend upon how busy we are. But here is a link where you can go to submit questions. It's a Google form. And if this is your first time here in the chat, we have a great community out there. Please say hello and make yourself known. Love to say hello to all the new people. And hey, Step, super video is very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paulo. And thank you for the 10 euros. I appreciate it. Keeping myself Yeah. What's the most efficient way to pledge? Efficient, like you mean with the lowest cut? I would probably say Patreon. And also, Patreon is probably the best because I get to, what's it called? I get to budget around Patreon. And if you don't want to pledge month to month, you can pledge for a year up front. And if you do for a year, it's like 84 cents a month for a $1 pledge. Which is like, yeah, it'd be like little over $10. And you get a whole year of early step back videos with no ads. I feel like that's a really good deal. That's why I always keep harping on it. Is that if you want to help step back, let me just calculator here. If you want to support Step Back for a whole year and get all of the early videos, the $1 for annual subscription is just $10.08 for a whole year. So, I mean, hey. How's my day going? My day has been exhausting. Absolutely over-the-top exhausting. I had a lot of work to do today because I needed to get this video finished so that I could get it to Skillshare so that they could approve it so that I can release the video on Friday. And I also decided, for some inexplicable reason, to do a canvas today because there's an election coming in Canada, and so I've been spending my time getting or trying to volunteer to help get the Social Democrats elected where I live in my little riding. And so I was out knocking on people's doors, asking them if they were voting for the New Democrats. So I was out there in my big bright orange shirt being harassed by wasps and carrying around lawn signs and a big old clipboard filled with, like, flyers and different materials and a big old iPad where I was writing down everybody's responses. Because that's how elections fucking happen. So I was out there doing that for a couple hours, and it got very hot today, so I was very tired at the end. And then I had a lot of work to do. So, yeah. I have dug deep into my reservoir of energy today. And, yeah. Probably end up doing more later this week. Tomorrow, they're having a rally, and the party leader, Jagmeet Singh, is coming to London, so we're going to go see him live. That'll be fun. And then I have a doctor's appointment, and then I have to do more work. So, you know, life keeps going. That's life, right? Yeah, there's the Gavin Newsom recall election tonight. Is it tonight or tomorrow night? I don't know. But yeah, I was hot and sweaty, and I was wearing the party colors, which are bright orange. So I must have been very attractive to a wasp. Because, yeah, they followed me around a lot today. And this is also the fall, so they're getting very aggressive. Yeah. It's fun. This is fun times. But hey, all in the name of advancing the left however I can. Alrighty. So, yeah. It's Tuesday night, so is the Gavin Newsom election tonight or tomorrow? Usually American elections are on Tuesdays, so I imagine it's tonight. But I don't exactly know where it's going to go. Because, like, I'm thinking about, like, how the last poll I checked on the California thing was that it looks like it's probably not going to pass. Like 60%, it's like 60-40, 60% of people are against the recall. Which means it's probably based on, like, turnout and stuff. I don't know. And unfortunately, because it's California, it'll be well after I'm asleep before the results are actually, tallied, so. So yeah, it doesn't look like it. I don't think, I think Gavin Newsom might not get recalled. Looks like Newsom will win. Well, that's news. The problem with the California recall election is there was really no the best outcome that could happen is damage control, in that things will continue to get worse, but at the same speed that it is now, as opposed to much faster. Can't wear orange in Israel. The colors associated with the far right. Strangest thing for me is that the U.S. red is Republican color. Yeah. Here in Canada, the red is associated with the Liberals, so we can't use that either, so we use orange. The days before elections are beautiful. Man, like, the thing is, the NDP is the third largest party in the country, and normally, by the last week before an election, because the Canadian election's on Monday, things start to slow down because you pretty much know if you're going to win or lose in this riding. And this is a long-held liberal riding here. But then it looks really good for the NDP in my riding specifically right now. So they are going all out. Like, I was out with, like, 5 other people doing canvassing today, and the leader of the party is coming to visit, which makes me think that, like, yeah, this looks like one that we could actually win, which would be a pretty good. Pretty good. Any recommendations for Canadians who want the NDP to get more seats? Too many of my friends are being cynical. Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle that the NDP has, is that the Liberals have, because of the anti-democratic, first past the post electoral system, they have basically bludgeoned a good amount of people into a situation where people are more voting against people than for anything. And so every election comes down to people voting for the Liberals because they want the Conservatives to lose. And the Liberals do a lot of work to make sure that they make the Conservatives look as scary as possible, despite the fact that the two parties have virtually identical policies on pretty much everything. But they try to make them look a lot more right-wing than they are, and a lot scarier than they are, so that people get scared and strategically vote for the Liberals. And the NDP are always like, brushed aside because of that, because we don't do coalition governments here for some reason. For stupid conservative poisoning the well on that in our political discussion. And also because the Liberals have more in common with the Conservatives than the NDP, so they don't want to capitulate on anything, because the Liberals basically think that they own the country, and they think that it's an insult if they have to share governing with anybody else. So, to get recommendations, get NDP more seats, is really, what the NDP needs is fucking foot soldiers. Like, when it comes to, like, the thing is, like, support bases in provinces or in different ridings are different everywhere. And you really need to see what your riding association's plan is for any given situation and get out there and do stuff. But for the most part, like, there are multiple studies that show that strategic voting doesn't actually, result in anybody getting what they want. And that, like, the effects of, like they ask people to vote strategically versus voting for who they want, and it turns out that results don't change that much. So, to kind of build up from there. And also to know that, like, you might have to build support over multiple elections, and you might not win. Like, the candidate I'm working for right now, she lost the 2019 election and might win this time. It's like, what's it called? I always say that left-wing politics, well, socialism in general, and this is not, while this isn't socialism, it's kind of part of the project. Socialism is like building a cathedral, and that you have to spend your life laying down bricks for a project that you may ultimately never live to see finished. And you have to kind of just be okay with that. Because what's going to come out the other end will be beautiful. There you go. Really, really like, go into the heart tonight. My beering up? No. I got a long day of work tomorrow. I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I got a Jagmeet Singh tomorrow. It's going to be a whole thing. That Al Jazeera article is hilarious. Yeah, we're going to read that, the Al Jazeera article. I got the Al Jazeera kind of election video, article. Is Justin Trudeau a liberal? Yes, he is the leader of the Liberal Party, which, as I said, is like a right-wing, center-right political party that uses vague like gestures towards progressive politics in order to get people to vote for them over the Conservatives, and then just do whatever the Conservatives were going to do anyway. Can I talk about the PPC? Are they going to split off the Conservative vote? Here in Alberta specifically, they raise our COVID cases up. Yeah. So the PPC party, or the, like, I think somebody once called it it stands for the People's Party of Canada, but it's really, some people have been nicknaming it the Pestilence Party of Canada, because they're essentially like kind of like a QAnon far-right conspiracy right-wing nutjob version of the Canadian right. And they've split off into their own party, and they also managed to siphon off a lot of voters who are leaving the Green Party, because the Green Party is basically dying right now. And so they're like up to like 6%, and they're almost exclusively campaigning right now on anti-vaccine, anti-mask stuff. And they're getting some success. They've gone from like 1 to 6% of the popular vote, and like, you know, most optimistic outcome is for them is that they might get 1 seat, because their support's not really concentrated anywhere. It's mostly in Alberta and Ontario. Yeah, so and like, yeah, they're like, when I was out canvassing, I ran into some PPC canvassers, and they were a bunch of like old white ladies with like middle-aged white ladies wearing purple hoodies with no masks on. And yeah, I was it's spooky how much more of an effort they've been putting into this election than the 2019 one. Yeah, my guess is that they're sort of benefiting from the downfall of the Green Party, and they're also benefiting off of a split in the base of the Conservatives from basically over COVID, because there are a lot of Conservatives who, as you guys know, don't like vaccines and don't like masks, and our Conservative Party has taken a stance in favor of masks and vaccine mandates and all those kinds of things. So it's just happening. My guess is that the next election, we might be further, if the next election does not happen during a pandemic, that a lot of those PPC voters will end up voting Conservative again. Because, yeah, they're probably one of the reasons why the Conservatives are not going to get a majority government from this, because the Liberals did so poorly. They have lost, like, so much of their support in this election, but they're still going to hang on because this People's Party, like, little surgence is really doing numbers. What's my opinion on the upcoming Russian elections? I don't know too much about what's going on with the Russian elections. First of all, I kind of don't assume that they're fair elections, because it's Russia, and Vladimir Putin is basically fancied himself a dictator. But I did see, like, I think I saw a random poll recently that said that the communists are looking like they're doing really well. In Russia, the Communist Party has been the opposition for a while, and they're like really surging. For a while, they were still led by Mikhail Gorbachev, but I imagine he's in his like 90s now, so I don't imagine he's leading the communists, the Russian communists anymore. But I did see a poll that showed that like the communists are like having like a huge peak in support in Russia. But let's see. Conservative Party in Germany is doing really bad right now, so they're trying to scaremonger about a possible leftist coalition. Oh no. Heaven forbid. Let's see. What can the socialists do in the U.S. push for progressive Democratic candidates to replace Biden and Harris? I think the main thing you have to like learn is that I don't think the Democratic Party, like, you really can't change it from the inside, and I'm learning now. I think that the left gets more by all means do like, you know, the Justice Democrats thing, but I don't think I'd put too much energy into it, because the left-wing success in America is not going to be through changing the Democratic Party from within. There's too much moneyed interest. There's too much like power brokers who and also a well-trodden path of the Democratic Party to appropriate and absorb left-wing causes to take all of the energy out of it, like they're kind of doing with AOC and like the Squad, where they have basically stymied any attempts to do progressive things, and in order to get them into it, they're like trying to blunt the sharp edge of their activism, and really like, nah. America's left-wing politics in America are going to have to come in the form of like what happened last summer with just like the like burning down of police stations and just like massive protests that they can't control anymore. That's really the only way that the left's going to get anything in the U.S. The U.S. is in a situation where it's functionally not a democracy. There is no left-wing politics in America, and the people have no options to be represented in government. And so, yeah, I don't know what... There are some things that happen when the situation gets to... there are situations that happen when there is functionally nobody to vote for to advance any of your interests in a better direction, but a lot of them take place in roadblocks, so let's not get into them right now. Let's see. What were the results of the 2019 election? The Liberals got a minority government, which means when they form, they have the plurality but not majority of seats. And that was in 2019, fall of 2019. And they went from a majority government to minority governments. They lost a lot of power, and they also won despite having fewer votes than the Conservatives. So, yeah. Green Party has rebounded there, looking to keep Paul Manley's seat. One seat in Kitchener Centre, mainly due to the former Liberal MP endorsing the Green candidate. It's gross. I know the NDP candidate for Anne-Marie Paul's riding, and he's awesome. And Anne-Marie Paul is a fucking like pro-Israel like conservative, because what you don't realize is that in Canada, the Green Party is not like the Green Party in America, and it's not like the Green Party in any other country. They are essentially like besides environmentalism, their party is just completely all over the political spectrum. And like the current leader of the party is fairly right-wing. Their base has quite a lot of issues with things like vaccines, and the previous leader was anti-abortion and was like the only anti-abortion candidate of things. And she has Elizabeth May, I think, has said that she has questions about who did 9/11. So it's significant how much of a force they are in politics, but they are not like a eco-socialist party. They are mostly about like green capitalism and stuff like that. And Anne-Marie Paul, who recently became leader, is like a very very pro-Israel, very pro-eco-capitalism. Is just like not like, it's not like whatever the fuck it is, and whatever the guy's name was who ran for president in 2020 for the Green Party. It's not like that. It's not like that party at all. All right. Do I think the SPD will win in federal elections? Is that like a German party? I don't know. I don't know anything about German politics. Has the U.S. ever had actual democracy? It maybe not. It definitely had a point in the past where there were left-wing candidates that you could vote for and had a chance of winning. But it's been a very long time. The green means money. Yeah, there you go. Another Alberta question. Jason Kenney is bunking up our fourth wave COVID response more so than anywhere else in Canada. Do you have any big Berta opinions? I mean, Alberta is so fucked in the long term that it's like not even funny. Like, so anyone doesn't know anything about, I guess we're like just talking about Canada for a while. So Alberta is a province that is located in essentially the prairies, and it's like directly north of like Idaho, for like American like ideas of what the territory is like. But the thing is that Alberta is very resource rich in petrol, specifically in the type of petrol called bitumen tar sand, which is like this type of way of getting oil that involves digging it out, like mining it out of the ground in this form of like this like tarry sand. It's like almost a rock, really. But there's a process that uses a lot of water and a lot of energy that turns it into oil that you can then, make gasoline with. And it really is only profitable if oil is really expensive. And you know how, like, for a good chunk of the 2000s and 2010s, oil was pretty expensive. So Alberta was doing very well and it was becoming very rich. But instead of, like, doing a capital fund like Norway or investing in, like, infrastructure or trying to, build business like what the United Arab Emirates did with Dubai, instead they just gave, like, massive tax cuts. And Alberta has absolutely zero plans for what happens after oil. And right now, the oil price is collapsing, and there's already pretty good signs that we have hit peak oil consumption. And we're not too far away from a lot of petrol-using technologies becoming actually more expensive than their renewable counterparts. And Alberta has no plan for what they're going to do afterwards. The only plan they've come up with is trying to make it so that they can start mining coal again, which maybe has like a slightly longer future than petrol because coal can be used to make hydrogen for fuel cells. But even so, that's going to be limited as we find better ways to do electrolysis-based, electrolysis-based hydrogen production. And so it's got no future. And Alberta's previous, like, source of revenue was beef, which I think the margins might be a little bit thinner than with petrol. So Alberta is fucked so bad, and they have absolutely no plans for the future. So that's why they have, like, instead of, like, planning for after oil, what they do is they made, like, a war room in their government that literally is a group of people who are their only thing is to basically harass people who criticize the oil industry. And they are, like, just, like, rabidly obsessed with making sure that Canada never, ever, ever backs down from the massive production and exporting of petroleum. Would NDP success ever lead to more socialist success in the U.S.? Probably not. If anything, because first of all, the NDP are a social democratic party at best. They are a center-left party. In Europe, they'd be considered a centrist party, really. But what would be more likely is that if there was a socialist victory in America, it would lead to possibly a way for the NDP to be more successful here. Because we more follow American politics, not the other way around. Howie Hawkins, yeah, that's the guy's name. Let's see. All right. Oh yeah, and that's the other big news. I don't know too much about what's going on. I don't know much about Norway, but apparently their left-wing party had, like, a major victory in an election yesterday, like a huge one. I've been told the fact that it's making its way to me, which a lot of Norway news does not, makes me think that this is like a really huge deal for the Norwegians. And as, like, one of the richest oil-producing countries in the world, having a huge left-wing victory might be pretty good news for, climate change and such. We'll see. All right, I think I caught up on everything, so I can kind of... But yeah, I would not be excited about the Green Party winning things. I look forward to the Green Party's destruction because they are a big waste of votes, and they are their base is a lot of liberals and NDPers who are voting for a party that never wins at anything, and is like filled with like anti-science and right-wing nut jobs. To the point where, as they've declined, a whole lot of the Green Party exodus has moved to the People's Party of Canada, the far-right, anti-vaccine, anti-mask party under Maxime Bernier. Where was I when 9/11 happened? I was in 8th grade. I was in school. It wasn't as big of a thing as, like, in America. Like, in America, like, they had their whole day fucked up. Like, in Canada, or at least where I was, we didn't even know about it until after lunch. And then, even then, it wasn't from the teachers, it was from the students who went home for lunch. The students who went home for lunch heard little bits about what happened, and they said something around the lines of, like, I remember only hearing that, like, a plane crashed into the Pentagon, and, like, that was the news story. And I was like, oh shit, that sucks. And it wasn't until, like, 3 p.m., or after 3 p.m., probably closer to 4 p.m., when I got off of school and actually got home, that I actually, saw the news and actually, like, saw everything that happened. So, like, I spent most of the day not knowing anything. We had kind of like a very special talk in class the next day, but we were back to normal, like, right away. So we never really had, like, the everybody being brought into the assembly room to watch the television or anything like that. That didn't happen where I was. The teachers didn't even talk about it, because I bet they didn't know about it either, because they were busy teaching. The only thing that was apparently, the only thing that was a little bit scary to me is that I had my cousin. I had a cousin that I was really close with when I was a kid, and he lived in he lived at my house. Like, he was kind of like an older brother more than he was a cousin for about 10 years, and he had moved out like earlier that year and was apparently in New York City when it happened, or had left New York City that morning when everything happened. So, but I didn't know that. And so if I had heard about the New York thing, I would have been scared, because I would have known that my cousin was in New York, even though he had left. He just, I would have thought he was. So, yeah. So let's actually, like, go into the news stuff here. So let's talk about this story first, I guess. We've talked a little bit about it already, but Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is having a recall election tonight, I guess. Polls are going to close way after I'm in bed. It's going to be like 9 p.m. California time, which is midnight my time, and I go to bed at like 10:30. So I will be fast asleep by the time this actually goes down. And Gavin Newsom's... It's also, like, it was looking scary for a bit, but now the more I'm hearing polls about this, it's like... the more I'm hearing about this, it's just like we're getting to the point where it's like... Okay, it looks like Newsom's going to stay in office. Crisis averted. Now we just have to deal with the current crisis, that is Gavin Newsom. So, yeah. Isn't it always the false choice in America, where to get rid of the bad... You have to end up, like, supporting the bad person, because if the bad person loses, then the worst person comes in. Advanced polls are open in Canada. I voted yesterday. Go vote, my peeps. Yeah. Well, actually, they're not voted anymore. The advanced polls closed yesterday. Yesterday was the last day to go to the advanced polling. Today, you could have voted if you went to the returning office by 6 p.m., but it is currently 7:30, so you cannot do that anymore. So there is no, you can't vote until Election Day now. And also, if you have a mail-in vote, if you wanted a mail-in vote, you had to register by today to get it, and so the deadline's passed on that. So if you haven't voted in some capacity in Canada yet, you have to wait until Monday to vote now. where the polls will be open from 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., and you have a voter information card that will tell you where to go. Or if you want to, you can go to elections.ca and put in your postal code, and you can find out where it is in case you didn't get one. You can do same-day registration by bringing in photo ID, or something like a... what was it, like a bank statement addressed to you, something that has your name and address, and just have 2 pieces of ID. Even something like a prescription label will work. And if you can't put together 2 pieces from this long list of possible identifications for you, then boy oh boy, do you have one more option. It is that you can get a friend of yours, who is also close enough that they have the same polling station, and you can get them to sign a form saying that they vouch that you are the person that you say you are, and you can then register that way to vote. That is if you have absolutely no photo ID and no bank statements and no pill bottles and like a list of like multiple other things that you can use to register to vote. But you can still do that on Election Day, because, yeah. I don't know, I've been distributing this information a lot because I've been doing a lot of canvassing, so I know this stuff now backwards and forwards. I voted on Saturday. Ugh. So yeah, this is the thing with Gavin Newsom. The only thing that was like really like, and this is always how it is in America, this perpetual crisis of huge right wing. Is Canada not actually more left wing than the United States? I mean, it's more left wing than the United States. That is just, yeah, that is true. But that is hardly a high target, because the United States is probably the most right-wing country on Earth. But Canada is considered fairly right-wing compared to European countries. But it would be, yeah, our conservatives would basically be mainstream Democrats by, like, you know, kind of like their stances on things. Like, for example, the Liberals got in trouble during this election for manipulating video footage to imply that the Conservative Party leader wanted to privatize healthcare. And the leader of the Conservative Party stepped on that right away and was like, no, I am never privatizing healthcare. He will. He'll do like a 2-tier system thing, but yeah. Do you ever feel like the Liberals learned the wrong lessons, as they often do, from the 2020 U.S. election, while the Tories learn the right ones? Possibly. I don't know. The Liberals, I don't know what the Liberals have sort of been on this progressive rebranding ever since Justin Trudeau took over the party. So it's been like, it's pre-2016. This election this year is just like the liberal strategy in this election is to hope that most people forgot the 2019 election and promise all the same things they didn't do after the 2019 election, or all the things that they didn't do in the last 6 years of not doing things. So the NDP or the liberal strategy is just to lie constantly about everything. By the way, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian super chat. By the way, Meow Nyan. I don't get why some governments require citizens to register to vote and don't do automatic registration. Good question. I think a lot of it has to do with that our country's got people who live in like super rural areas, and like, you know, honestly, I'm like trying to circle around an answer, but I don't really have one. It is very easy to register in Canada, though. Prediction on voting turnout this election is going to be very low. Voter turnout. There's already a lot of signs that voter turnout in this 2019 election is going to be very low because nobody wanted it to happen. It's just a naked power grab for the Liberals. And the Liberals usually get voter turnout by convincing everybody that the Conservatives are really scary. And the Conservatives get a lot of voting turnout by thinking that they can defeat Justin Trudeau or they can defeat the Liberals and, do all the things that they want. But it doesn't seem like the NDP or it doesn't seem like the Liberals. The Liberals are not really able to scare their base because Aaron O'Toole is really not that right wing compared to Stephen Harper. He's not that right wing compared to he's not that right wing compared to Justin Trudeau. Their politics are almost identical, so they haven't really been able to scare people into voting for the Liberals. And even so, the Liberals have this election, the Liberals have been acting like they're running against a fictional conservatives by kind of running against anti-mask, anti-vaccine types, which is not what the Conservatives are about. The Conservatives are terrible. Their political positions are awful, but they're not like the People's Party. They're not Republicans. They're they're pro-vaccine, they're pro-masks, and Justin Trudeau is trying to pull the wool over people's heads by making people think that the Conservatives are a lot more right-wing in this election than they actually are. So that's not working. And also, Aaron O'Toole is not exactly galvanizing his base because his base, the conservative base, wants a Donald Trump. They want they want their racist, fascist dictator. And Aaron O'Toole's not providing it, so he's not very popular with his base. Yeah. Aaron O'Toole, I don't like right-wing politics in any way, right? I would never like a conservative leader. Conservatives are terrible right-wing, ghouls. But Aaron O'Toole is a very moderate conservative compared to other people who could have won the primary. He's more, or the leadership race. He's definitely more moderate in his positions than even Andrew Scheer was. And he's so moderate that that a lot of liberals a lot of liberals are voting conservative in this election because there's a lot of blue Tories, or what's called red Tories, I think they're called. And a lot of them are voting conservative this time around. That's why the liberal support has dropped so much. Yeah. So this is the Gavin Newsom. We'll see what happens with that. I know that there's some really big things to be worried about when it comes to what's it called? There's stuff to be worried about when it comes to Dianne Feinstein, because she decided to run for re-election at 89 years old, and now she has 5 more years to serve as or 4 more years to serve as a senator, and she's apparently not doing very well health-wise, and her mind's starting to go, and so she'll probably either die or have to retire soon. And if they do so, then the governor has to replace them until their term is up. And if it was a Republican governor, then you get a Republican senator, and then you upset the 50-50 balance of the Senate. While whoop-de-doo, Dianne Feinstein is one of the most right-wing Democrats in the party anyway, so it doesn't it's going to accomplish much. But it's just not this is that's the scary part, I guess, of the thing. But whatever. I don't see. Yeah, senators get 6 years, so yeah, I guess 2026 is when she comes up for re-election at the age of 94 or 95 or something. It's insane. I can't believe she ran for office like that. But anyways, yeah, she's going to. But yeah. the Democrats, like the Democrats losing the Senate would change what exactly? They're doing dick all right now. No checks, no minimum wage, no climate change, no like literally nothing. If there was a Republican Senate, what would literally be different right now? The funny thing about Andrew Scheer, who was leader of the Conservative Party before Aaron O'Toole took over like last year, is that Andrew Scheer had to he very spontaneously had to resign because it turned out he was using Conservative Party party funds to put his kids into private school, and that's what qualifies for a scandal here in Canada. So he had to resign. Oh yeah, so let's look at this Al Jazeera article. This is a fucking hilarious article. So this is we've been talking a lot about the Canadian election, so I don't think this is a very long. It's quite long, but it's just a great wrap up of from a sort of non-Canadian socialist perspective about this election and what it's all about. I've talked about this for quite a while, so I don't know if I'll read the whole article, but let's go. Right now, the Democrats have the House and the President, right? They have the House and the Presidency and the Senate. They have all three branches right now. So, taking the measure of the candidates competing to become Prime Minister as any litmus, then Canada is a pedestrian nation. Now, before Canadian readers in particular begin howling in indignation or accuse me of defaming such a lovely country filled with such lovely people, I can assure you is not my uncharitable intent. The aim here is to reveal to an international audience how transparently unserious and in one case sinister are the leaders vying to win the federal election on September 20th to steer that, of course, lovely country filled with lovely people. I will begin with the incumbent, Justin Trudeau. Faithful readers of this column should, by now, be familiar with my antipathy towards Trudeau, who I have previously described as the Willy Wonka of Canadian politics. Every disparaging word I have written about Trudeau's disingenuous, vacuous core has been confirmed by his selfish decision to call an election early that only he and his equally myopic advisors thought necessary in the middle of a resurgent pandemic. I like this guy's writing. Trudeau has built a hollow identity as a progressive, even altruistic politician who is motivated solely by the national interest and not the pursuit of any petty, parochial political dividend. So, less than 2 years into a minority government, Trudeau's abiding hubris and the Liberal Party's generally programmed thirst for unrestrained power meant quickly sacrificing the national interest to satisfy the pursuit of a petty, parochial political dividend. A majority. Trudeau has tried to disguise his eager pursuit of that petty parochial political dividend by framing this election as a referendum on his handling of a pandemic that, guess what, stubbornly remains a pandemic. Stripped of Trudeau's banal rhetorical shuffle, the referendum is this narcissist's code for finding out whether Canadians still love him. That ultimately is what this gratuitous election is about. Trudeau's performance during the campaign has been signature Trudeau, a daily diet of trite bromides, delivered with the sincerity of a garden gnome, coupled lately with calculated flashes of a juvenile martyrdom complex triggered by roving, gravel-hurling bands of irritating imbeciles who believe vaccines of the devil's brew. God damn, this article rules. In any event, for someone who claims to have the welfare of Canadians ever close to his intuitive and sensitive bosom, Trudeau may have miscalculated badly, and as a result sealed his suddenly uncertain political fate. If public opinion polls are an accurate gauge, most Canadians are still preoccupied with the pressing day-to-day matters of life and death, in the midst of a lethal pandemic to be bothered with Trudeau's manufactured referendum. Apparently, less than a week from Election Day, not enough Canadians are in love with Trudeau to quench his rank, greedy yearning for a majority government. I suspect that if Trudeau returns to the status quo in Parliament, he, like his father, will, after a little reflection, take a walk, literally and figuratively. In 1984, Pierre Trudeau announced he was resigning as Prime Minister after an evening constitutional through an Ottawa snowstorm. Then the perpetually effervescent heir apparent, Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who much of the political press gush over like starry-eyed K-pop groupies, will assume the job she has not so quiet designs on for some time. Freeland will, no doubt, be celebrated by her giddy fans in the Fourth Estate for restoring lob-absent gravitas to the Prime Minister's office. Oh, the irony. God damn, this guy's great. Another prevailing possibility is that Conservative leader Erin O'Toole ekes out an improbable victory. A slimmed-down O'Toole means convincing that losing weight will establish that he is a new and improved man, and not the plodding, faithful disciple of former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who spent nearly a decade disfiguring Canada to reflect his crass, xenophobic, and libertarian self. A devout and obedient cabinet minister, O'Toole patiently emerged from the Harper alumni swap to win the party's helm after the instantly forgettable Andrew Scheer, another limp facsimile of their dear leader, lost to Trudeau in 2019 in tepid, uninspiring fashion. If O'Toole was meant to be a rousing antidote to the somnolent Scheer, I and many other Canadians have missed the blinding allure. O'Toole combines the charisma of a bored furniture salesman with a pitchman's facility to pivot like a weather vane on an issue after issue to cajole a hesitant customer. O'Toole is bereft of any discernible convictions other than that building oil pipelines is the answer to the unfolding and accelerated reality of climate change. That alone should be disqualifying, but some Canadians' lukewarm attraction to the monochromatic O'Toole can be explained this way. He's not Justin Trudeau. For a time, momentum appears to have been, unexpectedly, on O'Toole's side by default. Not because he invigorated Canadians with his ideas, as predictable as they are. Alas, and to the chagrin of Canada's pervasive right-wing media industrial complex pining for Trudeau's comeuppance, the momentum has stalled, and O'Toole looks destined to mirror Scheer's depressing result and resume being the opposition chief. Will the PPC draw enough voters from the Conservatives to make a difference for who wins? Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of PPC victory, if there's going to be any PPC victories, it's going to be in ridings that are already pretty deeply conservatives. Like, I don't know. Like, the PPC, I don't know where their support is geographically to make it count. But I could definitely see it turning the tide in a lot of the close races, for sure. And this election might be close, so it might be the thing. All right, let's see. The leader of Canada's pretend Socialist Party, Jagmeet Singh, who has not, to my knowledge, uttered the verboten word socialist since the writ was dropped, is scoring well among Canadians as competent and trusted. That is nice. Still, the purpose of campaigns is to win, and the New Democratic Party, NDP, has, since its inception, been content with moral victories at the polls that have translated to remaining the conscience of Parliament election after election. That is, I suppose, nice too. Being a nice guy, Singh is well suited to discharging the NDP's traditional role in the House of Commons. Indeed, Singh has spent much of his time and energy as leader attempting to prove to Canadians that he's nicer than Trudeau. This has meant mimicking Trudeau's glibness and trying penchant for spouting meaningless chestnuts in lieu of thinking and speaking like a serious adult to adults. Fair. It has also meant pasteurizing the NDP's near-invisible socialist ancestry to appear less radical when the obscene and escalating chasm between the uber-rich and the rest of us and existential threat posed by climate change require radical, undiluted solutions. Yup. Singh is poised to finish where nice guys always finish. The fortunes of the Green, led by Anna Marie Paul, are, to use an unpleasant term familiar to emergency room doctors, circling the drain. Paul, who some veteran Green members privately and only half-jokingly consider a fifth columnist, appear determined to erase the party's already faint footprint from the Canadian political landscape. Bedeviled by a brewing and costly insurrection prompted by the defection of one of the only two Green members in Parliament to the Liberals, and the hysterical Stasi-like effort for her ex-senior aides to purge the party of phantom anti-Semites to supporting the Palestinian cause, Paul is likely and mercifully to get the blunt boots soon. Finally, and perhaps most worrisome, is the halting popularity of Maxime Bernier, an avowed anti-vaccine, anti-Islam, anti-everything that makes Canada a largely agreeable country demagogue. Once a card-carrying Conservative cabinet minister, Bernier now leads the so-called People's Party of Canada. Like all populist charlatans, Bernier camouflages his toxic stew of ignorance and intolerance with soothing-sounding appeals to his supporters, ingrained fears, grievances, and prejudices. A more apt name for his mob of gravel-throwing yahoos may be the Pestilent People's Party of Canada. Alarmingly, recent polls show that Bernier has the backing of almost 7% of voting Canadians, tangible evidence that Canada is not the anti-Trump oasis some dewy-eyed commentators think it is. While it is unlikely that the PPC will make a parliamentary breakthrough, it could bleed crucial votes from the Conservatives and in doing so help Trudeau hold on precariously to power. From this mundane motley crew, Canadians are expected to choose. Bonne chance à tous. Oh man. P.S. Dear readers, I have not mentioned the separatist Bloc Québécois because becoming Prime Minister of Canada is understandably anathema to separatists. Whew. That was a spicy Al Jazeera article. I enjoyed it immensely, though. That was a very fun read. I don't know how you guys feel, but I enjoyed that immensely. I know I talked about the Canadian election a lot, but, you know, it's almost over. By the next step back tonight, the election will be over, so might as well, you know, get it all through. Yeah. Well, some other things. This is a bit of local news for me, so I don't know how much detail I'm going to go into, but, man, my alma mater is fucking up hard. So, Canada had, everyone been back to school recently, and one of the fun things is that my alma mater, the University of Western Ontario, long known for being a right-wing shit university, has had, first of all, I'm going to go from the least to most fucked up. But there's a lot of fucked up stuff that went down. Western had has their COVID, protocols and everything like that have been an utter disaster. I don't exactly know about COVID outbreaks, but everyone's showing that, the way that people are talking about it is basically that, all of the COVID protocols are failing miserably. Nobody is following any of them. There's parties breaking out everywhere. There's just, they're not able to control the students at all. Just like what happened last year. Then the second thing is that, the second most fucked up thing that happened is that, on Friday, 30 different women were supposedly drugged with basically with roofies. So 30 different women reported being having roofies given to them, and also many of them claiming that they were. Many of them also say that they were sexually assaulted. 12 of them. And this is the first weekend all the students are back. So this is the first weekend. This is a week. And they reported on Friday, and the university apparently sat on this basically until yesterday when it got into the newspapers and the university was forced to do something about it. The university is looking into it, but they have made no statements. They've made no warnings. They've made no claims about what's going on, what's happening, or what happened, or anything like that. They're being super shut up about it. Whew. And I said that's the second most fucked up thing happening at my university. The most fucked up thing happening at my university is that a freaking freshman was murdered. A freshman was had what's it called? He was beaten to death in a parking lot that actually wasn't far from a place I used to live. He beaten up, or he was what's it called? Killed by a 7-Eleven. That was a couple blocks from where my old house was. And I went to that 7-Eleven all the time, and it's holy fuck, man. First weekend at university, Jesus Christ. So yeah, West 1 week, and Western's just doing great, guys. Yeah. Let's see. The other thing, too, I just wrote Elon mad because I wanted to tell you guys this story. This is at least a little bit of a chaser to that shot. Elon Musk is very mad because in the infrastructure bill that is ever so slowly being watered down to the point where it can pass all of the parts of Congress, is going to have a $4,500 tax rebate for anybody who buys an electric car, but it's an electric car from a car company that is unionized. And famously, Tesla Motors is not unionized. And Elon Musk has gone to some insane lengths to stop unionization at Tesla Motors. And yeah, Elon Musk is very upset about this. So take some joy in knowing that Elon Musk is upset right now. All right. Next thing I got here, I think you guys will find this lady rather based as well. Let's see. I don't think I'll need to read the whole article. Yeah, because it's a bit of an article. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about this story because it's pretty great. Kanisa Kaufman is a person who edits Wikipedia as a hobby. And one of the things that she's been doing... So when she was going... She's a historian of... what's it called? Yeah. She's studying the Second World War, and when looking up the Nazi Party and the Germans and stuff like that, found that it was full of language that was very very glorifying of the Nazi regime, using a lot of pictures that were in very heroic poses and stuff like that. That was very aggrandizing of the Nazis. And this one woman's been on a years-long crusade to denazi, to get glorifying and pro-fascist imagery and language out of all of the Wikipedia articles that are about the Nazis and World War II and stuff like that. Yeah, for example, in early 2015, you will find K.E. Kaufman in the 20th of July plot, an article about a failed plan by German officers to assassinate Hitler. A sentence has jumped out at her. It says that some of the conspirators came to see the plot as, quote, a grand if futile gesture. That would save, quote, the honor of themselves, their families, the army, and Germany. The claim isn't supported by any sources. It's conjecture, hearsay, and to her it seems strangely flattering. So... yeah. What's it called? This is fucking Praxis right here. I'll put the link in the chat if anybody wants to read it, but I'm not going to read the whole article. It's a long article. It's definitely worth the read though. So that's the thing that you want to check out for later. Go for it. But yeah, fucking based as shit. I love Wikipedia. I love Wikipedia conceptually, like as a project. A lot of my PhD research had to do with studying Wikipedia's like edit archives and stuff like that. And I gotta say, this is like the Lord's work. Do I believe Nazis and Hitler escaped to Argentina? Not Hitler. Hitler died, but there definitely there were definitely Nazis that escaped to Argentina. That's not even like a conspiracy theory. That's like, you know, that's verified to have happened. Like what's it called? Like Josef Mengele, the fucking angel of death, ran away to Argentina. Should I vote ABC? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. After lying about getting rid of first past the post, I'm never voting for the Liberals ever again. I will only vote NDP now. Okay, so yeah, to kind of that's all of like the serious news. I got some fun stuff. Let's get some candy, shall we? Now, people who, if you don't like, you know, follow this stream regularly, you might not know that I like follow a bunch of dumb like techno future science-y shit, and I got like approximately like 30 articles about this, which is that there's this company that has gotten a bunch of seed money to try and de-extinct the woolly mammoth and try and repopulate them in northern Canada. So that's fun. The last mammoth went extinct 4,000 years ago, so I feel like there's a very different ecosystem for them to come into. But this is a thing that that they're looking to do. It's like, I know this, I think it was a project, but man, I don't know how you're gonna do it. I feel like $16 or $15 million is not going to be enough to do it, though. Many of the conspirators were from the old Prussian aristocracy. I read that the German nobles opposed Hitler. Capitalism versus feudalism, I guess. Hey, opposing Hitler, always good in my books. But thank you for the 5 dingoes there, J-Lord. I'm not like, you guys know me. I'm not like a World War II guy. I don't know much about Valkyrie. That's beyond the the Tom Cruise movie. I did see the Tom Cruise movie, which I imagine is not like, you know, pitch accurate, but that's about all I know. We'll get to the dress, the AOC dress. Yeah. Oh, and this is like a science project. This is kind of cool. So, West Vancouver student video explains how we could warp to Alpha Centauri. So, not like the longest article because I kind of just wanted to watch the thing, but like apparently there's this like, you know, competition for young people who have scientific ideas that they want to propose, and this kid submitted an act of theoretical physics to basically propose a pretty substantial update to the Alcubierre warp drive, which is the only like theoretically physically possible way to travel faster than light. So yeah, I wanted to watch the video and do it with you guys. So let's.
Flying at a velocity.
I want to go to, here we go.
Of 61,000 kilometers per hour. Voyager 1.
Alright, let's start.
Flying at a velocity of 61,000 kilometers per hour. Voyager 1 is one of the fastest moving man-made objects. But even at that speed, it would still take over 70,000 years for it to reach Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to our own. For decades, the question remains, how do we reach the stars without dying in the process? Miguel Alcubierre had the same question, but he came up with the idea of the Alcubierre warp drive, a method at how we can traverse faster than the speed of light. This shit doesn't work right now, but I'll explain the theory. Let's first conceptualize space and time as a single 4-dimensional manifold, called the fabric of space-time. This hologram will represent what space looks like in reality. Also, this diagram can display the distance between Earth and Alpha Centauri. Now, look at this. By warping the space-time in front of the ship downwards, we can compress the distance in front of us. By warping the space-time behind our ship upwards, we can expand the distance behind us. Now look where we are. Haven't we already arrived? How do you warp space, you might ask? Well, that's a strange question. You're actually doing it right now. If we place you on the fabric of space-time, notice how it's warped. This is because, according to relativity, energy can bend space-time. Thus, mass, being directly proportional to energy, is able to do the same thing as well. The larger the mass, the greater space-time bends. So how much mass does our warp drive need? Well, the mass of Jupiter at minimum, but we'll figure it out eventually. The hard part is warping space upwards, because we require the opposite of mass, negative mass. Negative mass could exist.
Now this is actually, I can't believe, I always look up the Alcubierre engine. I've looked at this. They've actually solved this with theoretical stuff too. So this like positive or negative energy thing is actually not part of the Alcubierre thing anymore.
Exists in the form of exotic matter. But exotic matter might not even exist, so forget about using that. However, there is still hope. If we compare space to the atmosphere, regular mass would be like this rock. It falls because its overall density is greater than air. Negative mass would be like this balloon. It floats because its overall density is less than air. Space, like the air, which is composed of oxygen and such, isn't actually empty. Instead, space is filled with tons of these particles called virtual particles, popping into existence and vanishing the next moment. Because of their existence, the overall mass or energy of empty space is zero. This fact means that we can technically make negative mass ourselves. If we simply place two uncharged conducting metal plates
I can't turn it up,
extremely
sadly.
close together, virtual particles with wavelengths longer than the distance between the two plates can't fit into this gap. This means that the overall energy or mass of the space between the plates is lesser than the surrounding space. So this gap essentially has negative mass. This phenomenon is called the Casimir effect. And if we could somehow take advantage of the Casimir effect to create enough negative mass, then the Alcubierre warp drive may one day become real.
Bruh! What a talented freaking kid. That's awesome. So so I just wanted to point out, because I was super impressed by this presentation. That person was 16 years old. Like, holy shit. Yeah. I am down. I want what's it called? A 16-year-old kid who can talk about like theoretical physics like that. Am I an SFIA fan? I have had Isaac Arthur in one of my videos, so yes. Of course. I love Isaac Arthur. Hello. Welcome to SFIA. We're going to talk today about space and warp drive. But first you need to sit down and get a snack, because it's going to be very long. It's going to be a very long video today. Yeah. Yeah. I know, it's like super out there physics at the moment, but the fact is like, this is the closest we've come to like actually having a working like warp drive technology, or like a thing that could theoretically work. And I think that's fucking cool as shit. The limit of like the speed of light always felt like it was like, we'll figure something out, and it looks like we're figuring something out. So yeah, let's do it. And also, Vancouver students, so go Vancouver. What are you looking for in the next season of The Expanse? I hope we get more Amos. I want more Drummer. I feel like the last season of The Expanse had the Drummer plotline was kind of eh. I feel like Drummer is my favorite character on that show, and I think that she could definitely do some more cool stuff in a future season, and I'm hoping that she'll be instrumental in helping the crew of the Rocinante beat Marco Inaros. Is that his name, right? Marco Inaros. So she kind of turned on them in the end of the season. So I'm pretty excited for that. What's The Expanse? The Expanse is like a science fiction show on Amazon Prime that is very good. It's like Game of Thrones in space. It's like insanely good. One of my favorite TV shows. Hey, thank you, Shocked for Life, for the $10 super chat. Have I read any books by Michio Kaku? Yes, I have read Physics of the Impossible. I think I read it a long time ago, but I read Physics of the Impossible, which is sort of like a book where Michio Kaku took a bunch of science fiction technologies and essentially like categorized them as either something that is, coming soon, something that we could theoretically figure out, and things that are actually physically impossible. And he categorizes them in these three systems and talks about each of these things and kind of theorizes how they might work. So, yeah. The other big thing is this story that people want to get to. So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Met Gala, which is like where a bunch of rich people get together for charity and wear a bunch of funky clothes, AOC went wearing a Tax the Rich dress to sort of like make a statement in front of a bunch of rich people to like take class issues seriously. It has spawned so much discourse about like, is this corruption? Taking like a gift because like one of those tables to get a seat is like, $300,000. Is wearing a really expensive dress that says "Tax the Rich" the way to handle this? And like, honestly, like AOC is probably like one of like the least bad American politicians, and while a stunt like this, like, I have questions about its efficacy or how much it's actually going to, turn the needle. It's like I feel like I have very little interest. Like as far as like stupid things that politicians are doing, it's pretty low on the list. I like Lil Nas X's statement too. Yeah. Well, I don't know what his statement was, but I do. I'm pretty sure Lil Nas X's statement that he showed up in like a gold suit of plate armor. I definitely thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's not necessarily harming anyone, no. But some people who are kind of like, a little tired, who think that AOC is like, softening her political positions to sort of fit into an upper crust of the American political elite, and is sort of buying too much into being a celebrity rather than trying to do all the change that people elected her for. That is, a legitimate criticism that I'm not like against talking about, but I think that, that the world, the fate of the world does not rest on this, the shoulders of this one woman, and see her as part of one of a bad. Me and Vosh have the same take on this. I honestly like my take is I don't care. Like, I don't think that this was great. I definitely have some criticisms of the way that AOC has taken to politics since she's become a politician. But, like, as far as, like, bad things going on in the world right now, it's fairly low on my list. I can't muster the energy. I also took the meme test. This is like a political compass-y, like a how socialist are you test that went around the internet. And there you go. Look at that. Socialist AF. I get to keep my cred. She wanted to create a dialogue wherever she can. Yeah. Like, I'm not, like, sure. I think there are better ways to do that. But, I'm not going to tell AOC what to do. I just want her to. I just want like I just want socialists to have more teeth. So that's my take. But yeah, honestly, like I found the Nicki Minaj Twitter story way more fun than this like dress gate thing. So that's my take. The Mr. Big Balls was much more funny and interesting than whether or not AOC did the Met Gala bad or whatever. Like, she's just one person, and like if you're relying on like one person, things aren't going well. If the Soviet Union was around, what would you think of it? I don't know. Like, it depends upon what. I don't know. I can't think about what. Anarchist sideline again. Yeah. Story of our lives. The thing is that the Soviet Union has been in so many different places over its existence that it kind of be hard to say what I would think about it, because like, if it was like freaking Gorbachev times, I would complain that they're capitulating to capitalism too much. If it had been the Stalin times, I would be really against them invading and conquering and brutalizing their population, and basically a megamaniacal dictatorship. Khrushchev years, yeah. Khrushchev was a bit autocratic, but also, Soviet Union was doing pretty well at that point. I can't really tell you much about like all the people from the 70s because I can't remember any of them. Like Andropov or the eyebrow guy or whatever. Yeah. All right. Got 3 quick questions for tonight. Brezhnev, that's one though, yeah. Boris Yeltsin. Okay, so we got 3 questions. I noticed that you often change the thumbnails of your past videos. Is that to affect their algorithmic chance? And if so, what is the usual benefit you get? I do a lot of... So this is a question about my thumbnail. I do a lot of A/B testing for thumbnails. I'm always trying... I have tons and tons and tons of thumbnails that I make every day. And I try to see if I can get their click-through rate up, because I want to get more clicks, to get more video watches, to get more subscribers, to get more education out to people, and, that kind of stuff. So it's just part of the game, just trying to get things better. How would you react if Vosh started running for political office? Oh, God. He's going to do it, too, because he fucking sucks. I don't know. Tacoma's gonna weep if that happens. Vosh running for office would be such a fucking joke, because all his opponent would need to do is show recordings of the many times he's done racial slurs, and like all of the sexual harassment and grooming, and like all of the like weird support for child pornography, and like just like all of the like fucked up shit that he believes, and the fact that he's just like an out and out asshole who does no research. So man, everybody who I know in like left-wing YouTube space is just so fucking tired that he's just so popular in this space. What's the worst right-wing YouTube channel on YouTube? The worst right-wing channel on YouTube. Like, what do you mean? Like, in the amount of damage it's doing, or in like how bad their opinions are, or like how like the quality of the content? Like, what? I would need to know in what kind of way of the bad. Is Vasha tanky in real life? No. He is, he basic, like, he puts, like, what's it called? He puts, like, radical trappings on what are essentially, like, kind of, like, vaguely social democratic politics, as far as I can tell. He's always like, I'm an anarchist, so vote for Joe Biden. It's like, okay. Do I have any thoughts on the California recall election? I haven't been following it, to be honest. Someone saw so the most dangerous. Stefan Molyneux was pretty bad. Alex Jones also, like, has had an objectively terrible impact. A lot of those people have been, like, deplatformed to hell and back. I would say that stealth-wise, this is kind of a cop-out, by the way. So, take you can undo this with a grain of salt or whatever. But the worst right-wing grifter on YouTube is actually Ben Shapiro, and I'll tell you why. Ben Shapiro is probably done if I were to take a YouTuber who is doing the most amount of damage right now, it's Ben Shapiro, and it's not because of what he's doing on YouTube. Ben Shapiro on YouTube just, like, gets owned constantly, and his takes are really bad, and nobody respects him. But what a lot of people don't know is that his publication, The Daily Caller, and his own content does absolute mad numbers on Facebook, to the point where, like, any regular day, the top, like, 100, the top, like, 10, I think, posts on Facebook on any given day, a good chunk of them are Ben Shapiro or the Daily Caller. He's like, Ben Shapiro is the person that is turning all of the boomers into psychopaths. And because no young people are on Facebook anymore, nobody is noticing how he is, like, radicalizing the olds, and that's scary. But yeah, so Ben Shapiro, so, like, a lot of people, like, Ben Shapiro is very easy to make fun of because he's, really lame. But he has some very sharp instincts when it comes to growing a social media business, and he is insanely popular on Facebook, which is a platform that a lot of people are on. Not the Daily Mail. The Daily Caller is Ben Shapiro's website. Did I see TDC's run height fight? No. But yeah, I think that, like, as far as, like, the thing is that, like, Ben Shapiro is also really good at, he's very competent at the things that he's doing. Like, he takes a lot of extreme far-right political ideology, and he manages to use just enough plausible deniability language to get around these sort of, like, purges of, like, the alt-right that have been, and conspiracy theories that have been happening on, like, all the social media platforms. So, like, the post Charlottesville crackdown on, like, the alt-right that happened on social media, Shapiro was able to get around that. The post 1/6 like, insurrection crackdown on a lot of these content creators, he was also able to get around that because he couches his language. The Daily Wire, is that the name? Maybe the Daily Caller is a different thing. So yeah, the Daily Wire, I think that might be his thing. So Ben Shapiro is really good at couching and controlling his language, and is essentially the last survivor, and is just doing absolute mad numbers. And we don't give it, like, we make fun of him a lot, but we don't talk a whole lot about, like, the actual, like, legitimate danger Ben Shapiro is at this point. Oh boy. I just saw something. I'm just looking at the news right now. So I told you guys about Aaron O'Toole, right? Aaron O'Toole, the leader of our Conservative Party. He's apparently his big thing is guns, which is like, guns are like not a huge issue here in Canada, but he wants to legalize the AR-15. I think that's the thing he wants to do, or something like that. He either wants to prevent it from being banned, or he wants to unban it. I can't remember which one is the case right now, but apparently he was posing with the liberals are probably trying to push this. It's him posing with the leader of a gun lobby group in Canada that put out a calendar that features Faith Goldie, who is a fascist far-right Canadian political personality. I think many of you are probably familiar with. Many of you, I think, are familiar with Faith Goldie. And so they're trying to make that that indirect connection with Aaron O'Toole and Faith Goldie, because they're trying to convince everybody that he's a lot more right-wing than he is. She got third in the Toronto mayoral election. I know, I voted in that election. I saw her on the goddamn ballot. Isn't Aaron O'Toole known to be friends with Faith Goldie? I do not know. But, yeah, interesting. This is Aaron O'Toole boosting a gun lobby calendar that glorifies assault weapons, gun culture, and includes known white nationalist Faith Goldie. Lovely. I submitted 2 more questions a couple hours for the stream live. Cool. Okay. I got these this morning. So. Okay, let's see. So suppose it's 5 or 6 years from now and your kid asks you something like, what's money for? What do the police do? What will you say? If I had a little kid, I don't know how I'd be honest with them about what I believe is wrong in our society without making them think it's okay to steal from shops or verbally abuse cops. I mean, I don't know if I will teach them that it's not okay to steal from shops or verbally abuse cops. But because I know that one of the first lessons I'm going to say is, if you see somebody shoplifting, no, you didn't. You did not see that. Unsee that. I think that I actually had this conversation with Kelly once. That when our son talks about when we have to talk about police, it's mostly going to be in the context of talking about what's it called? It's mostly going to be in the context of bullying, because I think that the kind of power structure that leads to the police, their first introduction into it is probably going to be bullying. And just realize that, bullies exist at school, and they exist today. The grown-ups have the police. Then, and money. You got to teach them how to use it, because that's the society we live in. But definitely going to teach about that this is. Not, that having money and having lots of money is not a pathway towards being a good person. It's not a sign that you worked hard. It is, up to the forces of nature and chance. Do you have a plan on how to approach gender and gender norms with your kid? Yeah. I've actually gotten a few questions about this, so, I don't know if I'll make a video about it, but essentially, after talking with, because, I told Mia about this a long time ago. She's known for months. I kind of talked to her about, what I should do about it, because, this, I found out maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago that our kid is going to be a penist individual. So, I, the first instinct that I want to do is, go completely genderless in as many things as I can. So, we tried really hard to prevent our in-laws from trying to give us, boy-coded stuff. The kid's going to have this periwinkle room, as an example. But, I'm not going to, I don't really want anything. I'm going to try to like, get rid of as much stuff that's like gender coded as possible and try to introduce them to stuff from all sorts of, toys and experiences and things that are coded all over the gender spectrum. And as far as like raising the kid, like I'm going to probably like to some point to make life a lot easier for a very small child. Like I'm not going to do anything. I'm gonna like, I'm gonna use he him pronouns at the as a child. And if he changes his mind, if that's not what he is, then I want to make it very clear that just let us know and we'll change it. Like I really, in my mind, I'm just like, I really just want to start like, unfortunately, because of how our society functions, it will cause a lot more social friction if you don't at least start off with like, in as small a way as possible to keep up things, to go with to kind of have that default to a cisgendered, especially in like the pronouns department. But then, if that doesn't work for him as he turns into a develops more into a person, then I'm really to change it right away. I want to make sure that's kind of opened. I'd worry about explaining why a kid shouldn't steal if I can't appeal to morality. Like, do you think a 5-year-old can understand don't steal if you don't want to get in trouble? I mean, that's really like the thing is like I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie to my kid. That's the main thing. Like I don't shoplift from major corporations because you might get in trouble is like the only repercussion, because like honestly, like it's it's not a problem. It's not a bad thing to do. I'm gonna be like just yeah. I think that you have to teach them that like the consequences of getting caught for shoplifting can be quite severe, and that is going to be the thing to stop. But like to say that it's bad, it's like no, it's just that there's people who have power over you that don't want you to do it. Is there a Walmart in Canada? Yes. We do have Walmart in Canada. We do not have Target. We used to have Target, but Target left Canada probably like 6 or 7 years ago. But like I'm not lying to our kid. Like I've already said that I'm not doing any Santa Claus stuff. I'm not doing any Easter Bunny or Tooth Fairy stuff because I don't want to have a childhood relationship with a kid that's based on untruth. So I don't want to lie. That's my whole plan, is I don't want to lie to my kid. And yeah, the whole thing about seeing somebody shoplift isn't the same as doing it yourself. Correct. Yeah. Because the first thing I will ever say is that you never see somebody shoplifting. Even if you do see it, you didn't see it. Never, like, yeah. You never, like, you'll never have to see it because you will, like, fucking The City in the City by China Mayville, you will just not see it. It'll just not be there. So if the kid grows up, they shouldn't narc. That's protecting your community. Yeah. And that and talking about the police, they're bullies, but they're bullies who have guns, and there are bullies that will get away with it if they kill you, and so you have to you have to show deference because they are violent, and they're violent bullies. Still try to teach them as much of like your civil rights and constitutional rights as possible, but. You can still have Santa Claus and friends, just be sure to tell them that they're pretend. Okay. That's actually a pretty good idea. I might actually talk to my wife about that one. But yeah, be honest with them. I never lie, but also know like what kind of what amount of the truth they can handle at different points in their life. Like not saying to say falsehoods, but you don't have to give them the whole story when they're like, a child. What if you see someone stealing alcohol and they're underage? You didn't see that. No, you didn't see that at all. Underage drinking is way less of a infraction than what's it called? Than shoplifting. What if the child becomes conservative? Oh man, that would break my heart. I would not be able to handle. I would have trouble handling that for sure. Underage drinking is common. Yeah, shit. I mean, I started drinking when I was like 16. Yeah. I wasn't particularly worried when 9/11 happened. I just naturally assumed that if terrorists could take out one building here or there, the sheer power of the US-UK militaries meant that they would probably be safe overall. Is it weird that I had the common sense to think that as an 8-year-old? I've often heard people the same age say that they thought all of America was under attack and thought their homes might be targeted at any moment. Yeah, but also Americans are a much more fearful people. They talk a big game, but Americans are possibly the most scared people I've ever met. White Americans especially. They will give up pretty much all civil liberties in a second if they can just feel a little bit less scared. And they have a media ecosystem that basically feeds off of scaring them constantly. So, yeah. The worst thing underage drinking is that they don't have a safe place for it. Yeah. My whole, this is going to be spicy too. My whole approach to drugs of any kind, alcohol included, is know that what you're getting is safe. So, if my kid gets into a position where they might be, getting into certain types of drugs, I might get them testing kits. So know what you're getting is safe, and make sure to research on what you're taking so that you can do it safely and know what be fully informed as to what the consequences and what precautions you should take. True, and also find it and do it in a safe environment with people you trust. That's the main. That's the drug talk. That's my drug talk. Because drugs, man, this is gonna get me fucking killed. This is gonna get me taken off of Twitch. Drugs aren't necessarily bad if you are if you take them responsibly and you know what you're taking and you have tested to make sure it's safe. And you're doing it in the right context with the right kind of headspace. They can be very enlightening experiences. They can be very fun. But they just know, just like with playing with, just like with making a campfire, just like with working with epoxy resin and doing art. There's these can be all very rewarding activities, but they all come with a certain amount of danger that you just need to be aware of what you're doing and make sure that you are following doing it in a safe fashion. That's the truth of all things. There is risk in literally all activity, and there are a lot of things that are safe, or at least safe in the amount that you feel that you are willing to take the risk on, as long as you take the right precautions and do your research. If anything, this is the most sound take on the drug talk. I mean, yeah. Have I dropped acid? No, I haven't. I'm curious about it. In a theoretical universe where I might have the opportunity to do it, I don't know, but it's not I would have to be in a kind of safe environment and know what I'm getting into and do the research. Yeah. I don't know if doing heroin and meth is enlightening. No, I would probably say that those are not good. Those are not super safe drugs to take. Certain drugs for 25 can be dangerous for long-term development. Yeah, that's true. I hope that they would know that. I also know that, like, teenagers have not developed a part of their brain that really handles risk calculation super great. So maybe there's somewhere to butt in on that. But yeah, just I don't know. I want to treat. There's a lot of ways in which I want to treat my kid more as a guide than as a commander, if that makes sense. Like, I want to be there to give advice and to help them when they're struggling and to, support them in the ways they need to be supported. But as far as, like, taking an active role in determining what kind of person they turn out to be, I would like to more encourage them to learn that for themselves than to sort of force them into certain things. A lot of mentalists are hereditary, so if there's anything in your biological family, make sure to watch out for it and talk to them about it. Yeah, we've got depression, we've got ADHD, we've got a bunch of stuff in the mix that we got to look out for. What's a localish org that? I don't know. What's the rest of the question? Is doing good work right now. For me, I like Food Not Bombs. I know they operate in London somewhere, but I haven't been able to get in touch with them. Right now, I'm really like not. I'm not super informed on what the like local orgs are in my town right now. I've reached out to people who I know who are kind of involved in like radical like politics and activism in my city, and I had one person. She sort of hooked me up with another guy who was supposed to like, get me connect me to like what's going on. And so I'm like in the process right now of trying to get myself involved in that kind of stuff. Is going to parent like in It's going to parent like an in-game video game tutorial. Just some text boxes that pop up, but you don't have to pay attention to them. I suppose, yeah. Didn't you recently get ADHD treatment? I hope it's working out for you. As a fellow ADHD, you're on meds currently, and dang, it's been life-changing. Yeah, the medication has been life-changing. They don't like my blood pressure, so they didn't give me like some of the more common, like I didn't get Vyvanse or Adderall or anything like that, because those are all stimulants, and so if you have bad blood pressure, they don't really want to give that to you. But I recently got a pill called ivermectin. No, I recently got a pill that I can never remember the name of, but it's apparently it's typically prescribed for people who are trying to quit smoking or who have OCD or anxiety. And an off-label use has been for adult ADHD. And it's sort of like an SSRI, which an SSRI is a common form of antidepressant for which is sort of a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. But I have one for dopamine, so it's a selective dopamine reuptake inhibitor, which means that my brain has a little bit more dopamine going around, and that's really all I needed. And I've been a lot more productive. I've been a lot less, like, a lot of my ADHD issues are about impulse control. And I have had a lot more impulse control lately. It's been very good. I feel a lot more like in control of the things I'm doing, which is great. I'm incredibly anxious about the fact I'm irritating you, and I have no idea what to do about it. Don't be anxious. I have no grudges. Just don't, like, what's it called? Just be nice. Have I ever found that caffeine helps? It can, but I find myself, I get very caffeine doesn't have a huge impact on me. Like caffeine very rarely wakes me up after like one cup. 1 cup of coffee will wake me up, but everything after that is sort of just it's just if I have too much, I can actually get so jittery that I also have trouble focusing. I used to be a very bad caffeine abuser until a few months ago. Like I was drinking like sugar-free Rockstar energy drinks, like 1 or 2 of those every day. And that is a lot of caffeine. Like I think I was like ingesting like almost 600 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is really unhealthy. So I have cut a shit ton of what's it called? I've cut out a shit ton of caffeine from my diet, and I have felt with the new medication, I have felt like a lot more in control because of that. I had a lot of bad habits that were just sort of impulse control issues, and I have done a lot of work to like this new medication has made it incredibly easy for me to just not do the thing, which is great. That's all I needed, so I feel great. I'm actually going to go to see my doctor tomorrow, and I have to go tell him like, I need this medication. Please give it to me forever. Check out L-theanine compound with combo with caffeine. It's the stuff in green tea that smooths the edges. Cool. You had to quit caffeine because you're diagnosed with POTS. What's POTS? Are you just giving up 2 months of your income for paternity leave? No. I am, what's it called? I'm taking 2 months off, but I'm spending my fall making videos for January and February. So there will be content in January and February. The only income that I'm going to be really losing out on is streaming, which is like a fair amount of income at this point, but it's not like a huge amount. And yeah, so have I ever tried herbal teas? Yeah. My mom's really into them, so I had a lot of them when I was a kid. But I am making, like, one of the reasons why I'm slowing down production for videos in October, September, October, November, December is because I'm working on videos for January and February that I plan to have done by the time I break for, like, my general plan is when I break for Christmas, because really, like, everything like after Christmas, like, is in sort of like the zone with pregnancy where, like, you know, an early birth could happen at really any point after about Christmas, about like, you know, December 20th onwards or something like that, right? So you have to kind of be, you know, ready for whenever it happens, because babies don't really come on schedule, as you know. So I'm going to, on the like kind of the work week before Christmas, I'm going to finish up, and hopefully by the time I get there, I will have all of I'll have January and February's videos already done, ready to go. And yeah. Then in March, I will talk about what it's like to come back. What if my son was born on my birthday? That would be a problem because he'd be pretty premature. My birthday's at the end of November, and he's due in mid-January, so that would be a bit of a problem. Do I have my toys from my childhood that I'm excited to give them? Kind of. I have some stuffed animals from when I was like a really little kid, and I have a lot of this is probably pretty pricey now, but I have like a really big Rubbermaid container of undifferentiated Lego. Like I have a shit ton of Lego from when I was a kid, that and a lot of it is not from sets. It's just like regular Lego pieces, and a bunch of there's also just a bunch of sets also in there. And it, like, if I were to buy that today, it'd be like thousands of dollars, because now so many adults buy Lego now that buying it for kids is like, kids have sort of been priced out of the market because so many grown-ups are buying these like Lego sets. So now Lego doesn't even really market to kids anymore; they market to millennials. So yeah, I've got a whole lot of Legos from my childhood that I'm gonna give away, but I'll tell you, like, I was pretty rough on my toys when I was a kid, so a lot of my toys are broken. Or a lot of, like, the stuff I played with as a kid, like, a lot of my, like, action figures and stuff like that, they're all broken. I broke them, and then I played with them anyway. I was like, what's it called? I was like, I was, yeah. They still have kid sets for Lego. Ninjago's one of them. Okay, cool. Give him some tiny plastic army men with pointy bits. It'll be fine. And my Transformer. Okay. I have a Transformer still? Cool. But yeah, like, I would be surprised if there's any toys from my childhood that have that are not just like absolutely beaten to shit, that are not just like my Legos. I feel like even the Legos, I think I'm probably gonna have to like wash them with like acetone and Q-tips because they're probably dusty and dirty because they haven't been played with in 20 years, and I think they were pretty dirty when I stopped playing with them too. So I'll have to do that. How should society deal with self-employed people taking maternity leave? Like, if the NDP took over, how would you want them to deal with that? Well, the NDP has a plan, actually, to implement it being easier for independent contract workers and stuff like that. Like, it's mostly tailored towards, like, Uber drivers and stuff like that, but they're making it so that it'll be easier to qualify for employment insurance. And if I remember correctly, maternity leave sort of, or paternity leave kind of goes through the employment insurance system. So there might be something in that would help me out. But honestly, like, a lot of the stuff that helps out with, like a lot of the stuff that I'll have access to, a lot of the stuff that I want, like, that will really help is, like, the medical stuff, like, you know, dentistry and pharmacare and, like, all that kind of stuff. That'll make life a lot easier. Acetone might make the paint come off. Well, the thing is that a lot of my, like, Legos aren't painted. They're just like, what's it called? They're just like, you know, solid colors. Like, that's the thing that's really cool, is that it's all Legos from the, like, 90s. And it's a lot of, like, undifferentiated Legos. Like, it's just, like, regular, like, colored bricks. So there's, like, there's not a lot of, like, set stuff, which means they can just build whatever the hell they want. Don't use acetone to melt the plastic. Okay, rubbing alcohol be better. Okay. Yeah, so I'll have to wash the Legos before the kid starts playing with them. But I'm pretty excited for it. The Lego is like one of those things that, like, a lot of kids don't have access to because Legos become, like, really expensive. Like, Lego used to be like what's it called? Lego used to be, like, cheap as shit when I was a kid because it was for kids. But now that Lego is primarily for adults, and very little, like, you know, kids are just now a portion of their interests. So now Lego is like a collector's item, and now now they're like focusing on selling like the 5,000 piece Millennium Falcon or whatever, instead of, like, you know, cool, like, bricks for kids to play with. So I'm really glad that I have that he'll have access to that. Do I remember Duplo? Let me see. Is Duplo like the, like, big Lego for, like, really little kids? Is that what that is? I don't know. Duplo might be a little bit after my time. Because, yeah. Do they do still have those sets? There's, like, Lego creator sets. Yeah, they're really expensive now, though. Like, Lego used to be super, like, stupid cheap when I was a kid. Do you remember Stretch Armstrong? I do remember Stretch Armstrong. Alrighty, it's 9 o'clock. Sorry, yeah. So I am going to go and raid somebody, and we're going to move on and have a wonderful evening. So we're going to raid. Let's raid Left Flank Vets. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, everybody, it's been solid. I'll be back on Monday. Maybe I'll be in a new office. I don't know. I haven't figured out the logistics of moving yet, but yeah. You guys have been great. Have a great night, and I'll see you on Monday.